Welcome everyone to a casted game of Age of Empires 4, and today spawning in the southwest corner of the map, playing in blue, we've got Kiljardi playing as the Byzantines. And his opponent in the northeast playing in red, we've got none other than Demu, representing Team Liquid, playing as the ayyubids. Welcome everyone to Gorge. That's the map for today, a fantastic map for Age of Empires 4. Definitely one of my favourites, for many reasons of which we will talk a lot about. But let's talk about the matchup, Byzantines versus the ayyubids. Two strong civilizations, for different reasons, of course. The Byzantines, I feel like they're a lot stronger in the late game with the olive oil, less reliant on gold. It can be a really nice civilization in that regard. They struggle sometimes a little bit in the early game, but the Imperial Hippodrome can help with that. We'll see if that's the case today with the Byzantines and Kiljardi. Now the ayyubids, they're an interesting civilization. Whilst I think they're a little bit more tempo aggressive than the Abbasids, they're not super all-out aggressive, right? They're a bit more there. I feel like they're a mediocre kind of. It's difficult to tell. They've got a lot of options, you know. It's difficult to tell with how flexible they can be with the House of Wisdom. 8 possible researching avenues. Obviously 4 possible wings: trade wing, culture wing, military wing, and the economic wing. All wings are kind of heavily used, which is kind of exciting. You've got various different options. Now, growth is certainly one of the most popular ones, which is what Demu is choosing to do today. It gets you 3 free villagers, but also gathers you an extra 50 food on the berries. But what it's got to be careful about is not diminishing the berry bushes entirely, because if you do that, then you don't get that food again. So yeah, it's not the greatest bit of detail, but you want to maximize as much food as possible. Now, food, of course, the heart of the economy in the early game. Speaking of the heart of the economy, well, the cistern is definitely the heart of the economy for the Byzantines. A great way to spice things up. In terms of gameplay mechanics, the Byzantines, they're super reliant on the cisterns. Going to be getting the water level up. Now, the reason why you want to get the water level up is because not only does it increase the gather rate of your villagers, and now it's at 10%, of course, at water level 2, it was at 5% for water level 1. But as you scale with the water level, you scale also the villager gathering rate. More importantly, you can toggle on to different abilities or passive bonuses, I guess. Conscriptio, the military production rate, is increased depending on your water level, of course, and then you've got Dialecticus increasing the research rate, and then you've got Presidium reducing the building damage you take depending on that water level. It is going to be the Imperial Hippodrome, which is kind of understandable with Kiljardi, the way he plays. It's super aggressive. Yeah, it is pretty aggressive. Super aggressive? Yeah, I'd probably say that as well. It's aggressive, that's for sure. And so it's going to be able to get those horsemen. Now, the reason why I love the landmark is that it does give them a little bit of a nice power spike in terms of obviously being a stable, but also the Byzantines as a whole. They get the Expilatores upgrade, which does mean they get a +2 attack bonus for villagers with their horsemen. It's a nice raiding unit, especially as well. You get the little bit of gold trickle in. 20 villagers, that'd be impressive, but 20 gold per villager you kill. Factor in, they also have the Triumph ability, which not only increases the damage output, increases the movement speed, but also does something else that's just fallen off my mind. There it is. It helps with the health regeneration. There we go. And so that's exactly what it's going to be looking to do. Pile on some pressure, maybe. I wonder whether the Ayyub is going to be a bit greedy and a second town centre. That's exactly going to be the case. I love this play, by the way, because when you factor in that his gold is far forward, it does put Castle Age a little bit off the table. Fast Castle will be way too risky, unless he actually decides to get a town centre there. But even then, the town centres aren't as strong as they used to be. They only house 7 villages as a garrisonable slots, and you don't really want to be dealing with that. So getting a second town centre is nice. Now, whether he goes up to berries or deer, this could be a nice spot. There's deer, there's wood and berries. He might place it a little bit more conservatively, because ultimately you need to also play the player. You play the civilization you're up against, but you got to play the player, right? We all know Kiljardi can be aggressive, and so that might push Demu into thinking, well, let's be a bit more conservative with our town centre. Could be mind games. Maybe Kiljardi decides, well, let's pump out a couple of horsemen and go for a second town centre ourselves. It's always an option. Now, speaking of options, you guys had the option of casting or watching anyone cast or anyone's content on Age of Empires 4, but you guys chose to stick it out with me, whether it be on YouTube and Twitch, so very big thank you for you guys doing that. I really do appreciate all the support. You guys are absolute legends, and I've really enjoyed Age of Empires 4. It's been great so far. Long may it continue. Going to be getting a barracks out and looking to just defend this with some spearmen, which is not a bad idea when you factor in is obviously going up against a stable play. with the Imperial Hippodrome. Does he have any of the upgrades coming in? No Expilatores just yet, so maybe he doesn't feel good about his chances of raiding. And take a look at this. That second town centre very close to home. We'll be protecting that wood line. That's a very safe, condensed economy. But I got to say, Demu's got to be careful. I feel like 2 town centre play against feudal age aggression can be super rough. Because what you need to do playing the second town centre is make sure that your economy is strong enough, quick enough, they can really start to pump out units. So Demu's definitely going to want to pump out units as quickly as possible to counteract the definite push that's going to be coming in from Kiljardi. I'd be surprised to see Kiljardi adding a second town centre himself. I wouldn't expect it at all. And I'm kind of fascinated to see how the Byzantines do with a 1 town centre play into sheer aggression against the 2 town centre ayyubids. I gotta say, it's really interesting to see the ayyubids go 2 town centres, because when you factor in their parent civilization, the Abbasids, I feel like the Abbasids just do 2 town centres so much better, right? They get Fertile Crescent, they get fresh foodstuffs, and both of them factoring in, you get cheaper town centres, you get cheaper villager production. It saves a lot of food that you can pump out into military. So it's a curious choice. Like when you factor in that particular strategy, I feel like the Abbasids do actually do it better. The ayyubids, though, they did have that flexibility, so it just ends up the case that, Demi chose this strategy. Needs to be careful not to lose that spearman. Only has 1 versus the 3 horsemen. Would be able to trade relatively well, but doesn't want to engage too much, of course. Doesn't want to lose those key units. Trying to get... Oh, there we go. There's the triumph ability. Going to be sniping that villager. Or tried to, anyway. Didn't quite manage it in the end. And he does have Expilatores, so if he did kill the villager, he would get that 20 gold. And Demu, with that second town centre, lots of production buildings coming up. Double barracks, double archery range, which I don't necessarily hate. It's probably a very strong defensive army composition. Ultimately, stable units tend to be for more aggressive or players that want to have that mobility. Ultimately, Demu's not going to have any mobility for the next 10 minutes because, of course, he's going to be under a lot of pressure and he doesn't need the mobility unless he wanted to do a counter raid, which, to be fair, is always an option. But that's a lot of villagers on sheep. They're trouble for Demu. He's going to have to venture out. He's going to have to go onto the berries or the deer. He's got to make a way that he can do that. Doesn't want to go in too early. He doesn't want to go now because, he can't afford to, right? He doesn't have the military to protect. He's got to be careful. The trouble is he needs food to get the military out. Will he have a hard transition to farms? Possibly. Will that be his downfall? Yeah, quite possibly. What you really don't want at this stage of the game, 8 minutes in, is to be farming away. Unless you're the English. Even then, it's a bit rough. That's a lot of archers. That's a lot of units in the north as well. A lot of horsemen about to dive in. I do love this matchup. It's an interesting one to see because although it's going to be very aggressive from one side and very passive from one other, what we're going to be expecting is a lot of damage coming in pretty soon. Like, you're going to see a lot of aggression coming in. It's going to be interesting to see if the ayyubids can hold. Interesting. Take a look at this. This is a really interesting upgrade. Like, we know it's existing, but we don't often see it all that often. And I think this is a really strong play by Byzantines. It's going to be a very definite signaling to be super aggressive. And that scout, what it means is that, what's really fascinating, it means that these units can start to torch buildings down. They might not necessarily need rams. Obviously, you still probably want to get them eventually if he doesn't need it. But there we go. Village goes down. There's the second. Getting 40 gold out of 60 gold. Third villager went down there. And it's so nice for that eco for the Byzantines. So, although we see Byzantines being super late game strong, I've said it for a while. I really do feel like the Imperial Hippodrome can be very aggressively played. It depends how they do against other civilizations that's super aggressive as well, right? If you match like for like, that's really what you want to do. Obviously today we don't have that with the ayyubids playing more passively, trying to protect those barriers. Now the good thing for the ayyubids, he does have a lot of military now, so could possibly venture out onto the deer camp on the east side. But he's got to be careful about doing it. Spearmen, they brace, but the archers there for the Byzantines, sniping a couple of those ayyubid units. He's got to be careful he doesn't lose too many of those. The Golden Age Tier 2 does come in there for Demu. That will be increasing the research speed of the civilization. Not that he's getting any techs up just yet. One key bit of detail, by the way, he's only just got the blacksmith now, I think. So he's going to want to get those upgrades pretty soon, as least quickly as he possibly can. Now the army is being split here for the Byzantines. He's recognizing that food could be an issue. The food is on the right side. This is really where Kiljardi wants to attack and be present on the map. There's a lot of villagers heading that position. This could be ending pretty soon, or at least a big fight could be happening soon. Sending units in the north, he does spot the 2 gold and the berry bush. So he's definitely going to be going for food, right? Because at this stage of the game, you don't really run out of gold. And Obviously, he's got not really reliant on gold anyway in the feudal age, and there's a decent number of archers there for Kiljardi. So looking to snipe out a couple of the archers. Oh, he's engaged here. I'm not sure about this fight. And Byzantines might just focus on the villages. He's going to back away for now and not take it. Does lose a couple of units on the retreat though. Not ideal. Cycles on the north. Not going to get too much value there for now. It's going to be the Golden Horn Tower for the Byzantines. The Castle Age. That's going to be a nice tech up, by the way. I love that play. Because, I mean, he has to be pushing in now, right? This game will end in the next 10-15 minutes. Max, I would have thought. One way or another. Because the tech up for the Byzantines means he has to do critical damage. He can't keep up with the eco. So he's got to out-military fight his opponent. And I think a good way to do that is to out-tech them. Castle Age units versus feudal age units. It's probably going to be the key to this one. Because the ayyubids, they just got better... They got a better feudal age, right? Ultimately, if you're going to go up against feudal age fights, just both players staying in feudal age, ayyubids would win it. Because he's got a better economy now. So he's just have to show up more units. But what the Byzantines have done now, they've thrown a spanner in the works. They've got a tech up. The units will be better. And that offers a competitive advantage for the Byzantines over the ayyubids in the next about 10 minutes, I'd say. The big trouble for Kiljardi is if he doesn't kill Demu in the next 10-15 minutes, then he will die. Speaking of dying, a lot of the swordsmen do die to those spearmen. The spearmen get right close and personal. Now the archers there for Kiljardi focusing on the spearmen. If the spearmen numbers do go down, then that will allow those swordsmen to get a lot of value. Veterancy upgrades coming in for the archers, but aren't in there just yet. So worst possible timing there for Kiljardi. Demu, recognizing his opponent went to the Castle Age, he knows he spent a lot of resources to do so, and now he's going to try and pressurize. But he notices the veterancy upgrade on those archers, and so he immediately backs away, looking to build those numbers up again. Great strategic scouting, and just identifying when it's your time to attack. Demu focused on attacking when his opponent just aged up, spent a lot of resources, but backs away when he spots in those veterancy upgrades. He's got to be careful though, Demu. He doesn't want to let the army numbers build up too much for the Byzantines. You probably want to engage when the army numbers are low, despite being out-teched. Because what you don't want to be doing is being out-teched, but also outnumbered. At the moment, Demu does have that advantage of outnumbering his opponent. Going on that wood line, which is obviously a very big pressure point on Gorge. You only have really one big wood line. But the trouble for him now, he might not be able to escape without any sort of losses. There is a counterfight that might use a trample damage ability, and the triumph ability does come out there for the Byzantines. A lot of veteran archers. Oh, this is bad for Demu. He might actually lose everything. Now, he does have a Desert Raider, which actually uses the camel unease, making the cavalry a little bit less effective in terms of damage, but that's not really the big problem that Demu is facing. The big problem he's facing are those Varangian guards. They're heading in. They're going to get a surround, or at least right up and close and personal of those archers. Archers have to back away, going to the choke point, just about escaping there. Demu will be looking to run away, though. Plenty of food being brought in, but that's going to be running out pretty soon. A lot of villagers out there. Well, I thought Demu might escape, but he does lose more. Does take out the cataphract at least. And it's going to protect that food count. Here, there for the Byzantines. That Kiljardi will be facing up against an ayyubids that are in the Castle Age now. Fortunately, I didn't see what land... yeah, I think he went for Culture Wing advancement, right? He wants to get there quickly. Trouble is for Demu is he lost a lot of army. Didn't get all that much value, ultimately. I think that's a big loss there, I've got to say. Because look at the destruction value. Definitely Byzantines got the better off that trade. Demu wasn't able to do critical damage that he wanted to do and didn't get out there either. Didn't get out of there. Because if he did save the army, Demu will at least have a good army to upgrade. Just doesn't have the numbers now. Now granted, he did have a lot of archers which don't necessarily scale all that well, but when you're factoring in against the archers, at least they'll trade against the Byzantine archers. They won't do well against the Varangian guards, but you know, losing units is always rough, no matter what unit they are. But Demu does have a significant villager lead, which will certainly help him if he can survive the next 10-15 minutes. We talked about earlier in the game how the Byzantines actually have to kill their opponent in the next 10-15 minutes. If the Byzantines don't do that, the ayyubids will be coming back with a strong punch. Well, can be focusing on that food. Ultimately, though, the food is already gone. Demu now transitioning on the west side. I love this play, by the way. I don't know if we'll be able to talk about it in just a second, because we might just see an engagement. But yeah, I love the fact that whilst the two key resources here that Demu took early, instead of going to the berries on the west side, the reason why is because now we can venture on the berries on the west side. And that's really where the main economy is there. And I say west side, really the north. 2 gold veins and berries. That's where demu just needs to protect, and it's only one area that it needs to protect now. But Varangian guards on top of those Gulam is good. I'm going to get as much value as I possibly can. But veteran archers versus the veteran archers on the back line. Now that Desert Raider is poking away. There's no camel unease really affecting this fight, although there is a cataphact riding in now. But Gulams are decent in numbers. The Gulams are going to get on top of the archers there for the Byzantines. Byzantines struggling somewhat. The cataphact does use the trample ability on those archers. This is looking rough. The archers have to back away. Gulam just about to chase that down. And well, this is looking rough for the Byzantines. He didn't really want this fight to end this way. Now he has to back away. Demu. His greed might be paying off. A 30 villager lead. That's starting to look very scary. Kiljardi though, trying to maximize, save as many units as possible. Starting to get some crossbows as well, I think there. Just a handful to focus on the Gulams. Archers versus archers. The cataphracts might dive on those archers. Will he use his trample ability? Not yet. He loses it. The archer's going to try and get as much value on the retreat, and obviously the defender's advantage now, making things swing in the way of the Byzantines somewhat. Gulams and the crossbows and archers for the ayyubids have to back away. And they will back away to that outpost, which will certainly be helpful, but Byzantine's not diving in too much. He doesn't want the pendulum to swing the other way. He wants to mass up a little bit more. I think the Byzantines, they've got to be careful. It feels like they've got to do some critical damage soon. Going to be getting some of the relics, but that's not going to be enough to tie the damage or the difference. 30 villagers at the moment. Going out to gold. There are 2 gold veins. There's a lot of villagers. 20 gold villagers coming in soon. Loses that relic. Unfortunately, didn't get it in time. And it looks like the dervish going to steal that one for the ayyubids. So 3 relics in the bank though for Kiljardi. It's a decent amount of gold coming in, but 1 more relic coming in though for demu. Trying to pick up the one in the middle. Does demu react to that enough? It doesn't. Oh, yep. Maybe. Will he snipe it? I'm not so sure. Will the army come in there for Kiljardi? I think he snipes it. Which is a bit unfortunate. Yeah, he's just about... Wait, this could be a bit of a race. There is a slot there. Garrisonable. There's a couple of ranged units. He should get away with it. He should deposit it in the end, but he might lose his life anyway. Wait. Will he get it? He does. Nicely done. Gulam's going to head on the front line against the Varangian guards. Decent number of crossbows there for the Byzantines. Quite a few longbows as well. Gulam's diving in. There aren't that many Varangian guards left. So we need more crossbows here. Cataphracts rides out, and I think Cataphract goes right on top of the ranged units possibly. We'll see. No, he's going to go for the Gulams first, and this should be a good cleanup for Kiljardi. I think Demu's overextending. Like, he can't win the game. There's no reason for this for demu. I don't think he needs to fight here. He's got the better economy. He needs to be a bit more patient with this. And that was a bit of a... I'm not so sure about that. I'm not so sure why demu engaged that. I don't think it was the right move. And now he's having to rescale his army. Like, ultimately, the pressure is on Kiljardi to do damage. Demu took a bad fight there, and it was an unnecessary one. Because now he's up against 55 military. Now, what's great about the Byzantines is that they've got the olive grove transition in. But what's really great about it, the economy, it scales so nicely with the water level 5. That's going to be a decent amount of extra gathering rate for the villagers. Not enough to equalize the difference in villager count. Mangonel deploys. This is a problem here for Kiljardi. He's got to be careful. He's got to take out the Mangonel if he can. That changes the fight entirely. Longbows focusing the archers. Varangian guards aren't that many in number. They need to focus on the Gulams as much as they can. The crossbows aren't much in number as well. The longbows get absolutely pummeled by the rocks of the Mangonel, but only a couple of them go down. Most of the HP taken off them. But ultimately, they're still getting damage output. Going to be sniping the Mangonel with ranged units. And that's not what you want to see as the ayyubids. No villagers on hand to repair, and he will lose the Mangonel, which is actually critical. He didn't turn around and fight in the end, and well, this is looking rough for demu. He lost a fight earlier on and is being made to pay for it. 51 military versus 14. But this is the window of opportunity. It felt like this is rough. I mean, demu lost the army earlier, and that's really hurting him now. But will he be able to defend with some Mangonels? Quite possibly, because this is ultimately a very heavy infantry-based army. But it's all coming down to this last fight, and if you feel like demu can't hold, well, if you can't push this army back in the next 2-3 minutes, you got a feeling that the Byzantines will be dishing out damage. Maybe critical damage. There's that third Mangonel being built. I should say Manjaniq, really. Also, it looks very much like a Mangonel. It does have another ability. It has the incendiary version of the attack, although it's unlikely we'll see that at the moment. Manjaniq starting to push that back. I wonder if Kiljardi will get a couple of spring hordes. It feels like that's what he needs, but although having said that, they do have a unique unit, the Cataphract, that can use their trample ability. And the reason why I love this unit, by the way, is whilst you might be tempted in the need to get spring hordes, well, ultimately, the biggest problem about spring hordes is not getting on top of them with melee units, right? Especially if they're shielded and blocked, which is always an option that demu can do. Trouble is, there's no shielding, there's no blocking against the Cataphract trample. It's such a strong ability. It can just charge through military, get to the backline on top of that siege, and it solves a lot of problems. Speaking of siege, you can see that demu really relying on that. It's probably his get out of jail free card. It does feel like that way because it's 71 military for Kiljardi, but if he times this well, whilst demu has a lot of economy, well, he might be able to do critical damage that wins the game. Now, it might not be too terrible to see a second town center for Kiljardi if he feels like he can't win in the next 5-10 minutes. It does mean he'd be playing catch-up, though, which is not ideal. He would have the standing army to do so, though, so maybe in a third town center. Or he's going to engage the trample coming out for the Cataphract soon, I'm sure about that. He's going to go right on top of the siege. There it is. We see it in action, riding over the Gulams, focusing on the Mangonels. Mangonels still get a good couple of shots, though. He's got to be careful. Does have the spread formation, microing it as much as he possibly can here. Kiljardi takes out most of the Mangonels. Just one more remain. Takes out the Springles. The Mangonels go down. I think demu, he might have to tap out. He's down to 11 military versus 59. Demu's got a stronger economy, but it won't count for anything if he doesn't have military. The Cataphract's going to be riding in, and, well, the Byzantines, they timed this to a T, and demu, with the lack of military, how does he come back from this fight? I don't think he does. He's going to try and get some production buildings on the back line, but take a look at this army of the Byzantines. Totally overwhelming. The trample absolutely changing that fight, and I think this game had two key moments. Demu losing his army earlier on, and the trample damage coming out from those Cataphracts. What's the real big problem now for demu is, whilst the Byzantines are heading north, I actually love this play by Kiljardi. A lot of people will be tempted to go right to the heart of the base, but Kiljardi recognizes, well, gold is an issue. And there's only one spot that demu will be getting gold. It's in the north. Takes these villagers out, it will be game over. And it's not so much about killing the villagers, it's more about denying the income of gold. So he can't necessarily raid him to death, but what's the ultimate issue is that if he stops gold income, Gulams won't be possible, crossbows won't be possible, highly armored units won't be possible, and that will be the only way for demu to get back into the game. Oh, there is another Mangonel, no trample damage coming out. Oh, that's rough. Cataphract's going to get so many villagers there, that is rough for demu. And in the middle of the fight, there it is, a trample damage coming out once again for the Cataphracts, riding on top of the Mangonel, and the Mangonel will go down. We'll get a damage output in the end. With it going down, I don't think demu has a way to fight back from this. Once again, he's taking a bad trade, taking a bad fight, and demu, he taps out. Byzantines, they play this to a T. The timing was perfect there for the Byzantines, and Kiljardi takes the game on Gorge.